For a long time, I have felt like it was really hard for me to trust my emotions, and I couldn't figure out what my emotions actually meant in terms of what to do, in terms of a guiding system that I'm supposed to have. Emotions are kind of supposed to guide you in this reality to help you make the right decisions. So I have been feeling very confused for most of my 20s, and I didn't feel I could trust my emotions. And I felt all this rage and betrayal at my emotional system because it just couldn't guide me to the right thing and to the right choice. In the beginning, when we are children, we kind of interpret emotions as what to do and what not to do. So for example, if you're feeling sad, angry, you kind of learn that that particular thing that you've done that caused that emotion to arise is just the wrong thing to do and you shouldn't do it. While positive emotions are associated with a thing that you should keep doing and the right thing and the right choice to make. This is usually how emotions are interpreted at the beginning of our life. Then societal conditioning comes in and we learn that our emotions are not to be trusted and that our emotions don't actually mean that something is right or is wrong. For example, we have to go to school and many of us don't like it and many of us don't feel at ease or positive feelings about the school environment when we're little, but our parents are telling us that that's the right thing to do and that's the right choice and that our emotions are basically wrong. And so from there we start to think that our emotions are not actually the right thing to follow and that we should actually follow societal expectations and societal rules for how to live our lives. And that's how we become adults. We kind of feel like we are grown up and we are real men or real adults when we can kind of discard our emotions and do the right thing. And the right thing, of course, depends on the cultural norms of your society. But when you finally can overcome your emotions to follow societal expectations, that's when you're usually considered an adult with like the qualities of trustworthiness, stability, and level-headedness and common sense, etc., etc. But this is not the last stage. There is actually a deeper truth to emotions that many of us don't ever get to because we are stuck at the adult level, even though every human being at that stage feels like something is missing and something is wrong, because denying yourself for years and years and not receiving the happiness that you're supposed to makes so many people feel like, you know, something is missing and that's not the right way. But many of us are so conditioned to believe that that's the right way that we just feel like maybe we're not doing enough adulting or enough repressing of our emotions, and we have to do it more to achieve that happiness, because in the end every one of us is just looking for happiness and is just trying to figure out the best way to arrive at that destination. We're just repressing our emotions and we are hoping that we get something in return, because that's very painful. Some people return to the previous stage where they follow their emotions blindly and react to their emotions blindly and feel like their emotions are there to tell them what to do and what not to do. Some people kind of go back and forth between these two interpretations because neither of them feels right, because sometimes when you go back to following your emotions and feeling like your emotions are telling you what to do, you can end up in a very big mess, even bigger than the kind of apparent stability that you get in the second stage. It's very, very tough when there are only these two interpretations to go about figuring out your emotions. But there actually is a third way that allows you to grow and explore and trust your emotions again and actually find your path to happiness that doesn't require you to repress and deny your emotions. So what actually is this third way of relating to your emotions and decoding your emotions, and finally being able to trust your emotions as the guiding system that they were created as? Emotions only tell us two things: what is true and what is false. But what are they saying is true or false against? Is there an ultimate reality where something is actually true objectively and something is false objectively. No, or at least I don't know about it. They tell us about what is actually true or false against our true selves, against our true nature, against our true core. So it's not about what is right to do and what is wrong to do and what we should run towards or we should run away from. It's actually only about understanding if something is true compared to our core or if something is untrue or false compared to our core. What we basically resonate with naturally and what we feel like, okay, this feels right, this rings true to me, and this doesn't feel right to me, this doesn't ring true. That feeling of this doesn't feel right is the negative emotion. So negative emotions basically convey a dissonance with a belief that we have that we in our core feel like it's not true to us. And that's how you decode emotions, and that's how you navigate life, understanding your internal guidance system. So it's not about doing something or not doing something. It's not about running away from something or staying in a situation. It's actually an internal understanding process of, okay, this situation is telling me that I feel this way about myself. It's a way of reality to reflect to you that you feel a certain way about yourself, and it pushes you to examine if that certain way that you feel about yourself feels actually true to you. Why this happens is because we absorb many things from society that are not actually true to who we are. On the basis of that, you make decisions, but first you have to kind of examine those beliefs. The problem and the confusion arises because these beliefs that we absorb from society usually, and that are always about who we are and ourselves, they're not relating to something external. It's not a judgment on actually the external reality. We get them from society, but they are just so dissonant to who we are and they're so painful that we're not aware of them. We push them in the subconscious mind and we actually work and relate to life and react based on them, but they are subconscious, so we're not aware that we have them. And to me, it's actually inaccurate to call them beliefs because they're more like fears. When you believe something, it's like it's yours, it's actually part of yourself. But a fear is always something that you are just afraid that it might be true. It's not like you believe it, okay? There's a difference there. So there's a distance between these fears that you have and that you are unaware of and your true core. They're not like one and the same. It's also so difficult to find these fears out because your conscious effort is always in reaction to the fears that are in the subconscious mind. So your whole external and conscious personality is always reacting to those fears and trying to prove that those fears are not true. Only you're not aware of it and you're not aware that you're reacting to them. So your subconscious mind, in order to help you let these fears emerge, it leads you to situations where the situation itself is going to reflect that fear to you. So that's why reality is kind of a mirror of what you have in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is going to lead you to situations where that fear will emerge for you to discover. And that's why we often find ourselves in situations that we don't like. And that's why the solution is not to run away from those situations. It's not to fight the situation, but it's actually just to observe the situation and see what kind of fear is associated with that situation and see why this situation causes negative emotions in ourselves. And you can find out that a situation is not directly causing you the negative emotion, but is actually activating your negative fear and causing the negative emotion. So it is a three-step process, because many people are in a certain situation and they don't feel that way about the situation. They don't feel particularly negative about that situation. That means that they don't have the same fear about the situation that you do. Many people ask, I am in this bad situation, for example, a toxic relationship. What should I do? Should I continue to be in this situation, in this toxic relationship, and see if it gets better, for example? Should I continue to fight for it? Should I continue to hope that it will change, or should I just leave? This is not the correct question to ask yourself. The correct question to ask yourself is, okay, I have a negative emotion about this toxic relationship. And I'm not saying that the relationship is not toxic objectively, okay? But I'm saying that that toxic relationship is reflecting something for you to examine that is very important, because you're having an emotional response about it that indicates the presence of a belief, of a fear. So what you should do in that situation is always, first step, to listen to your emotion and to sit with your emotion, because this is the first step to actually go to the root of that emotion and figure out your fear. So sit with your emotion and just cry and do whatever it is that you have to do to kind of express and feel that emotion in your body. And that is difficult to do because, as I said, we are in reaction to the emotion and the fear usually. So we are up here in our heads trying to figure out how to solve the situation. Okay, should I leave? Should I continue? Should I be hopeful? Should I make this change? Should I make that change? That's not how you deal with the situation correctly. You go into your body and you feel the emotion, because the emotion is a physical, bodily thing, okay? And that's how you access your subconscious fear. After you process that emotion enough, you will figure out that there is something at the root of it that is talking about you and who you are as a person. So for example, I am not loved in this relationship if I don't perform a certain way. It means that I fear that I'm not worthy of love if I don't do certain things. If I'm just myself, I'm just not worthy of being loved. And that, of course, is not true, because your true core, your true nature is already loving, is already full of love, is already enough to be loved. You're already precious, you're already unique, you're already amazing as you are. But you absorbed through society, and society made you believe that you're not enough as you are, that you have to perform a certain way, because our society is fear-based, is veiled, is fear-based, is not aware that each individual is actually love and is actually loving. So we absorbed those fears from society, and in this particular example, the person has absorbed the fear that they're not enough as it is, and they have to perform a certain way in order to be loved by someone else. When you reach that root, and again, it's hard because it's so painful, because it's dissonant to who we are, you can just let that fear go. You can just realize, okay, actually, I can see my intention and I can see that I'm actually a loving person, and I don't have to perform a certain way in order to be loved, because that would be false and that would not make sense, okay? It just doesn't make sense to perform in order to be loved, because that's not love. Like performance and being different to who you are is not loving in any way. So you can see that that belief is false and that fear is false. It's just at the end of the process that you can be able to change the situation, because your subconscious mind is not pushing you toward that situation anymore, because you've done the job, you've done the work, you figured out that that fear is not true, and you can let that person go. Or you can approach the relationship in a different way and see if that person will change their behavior, but you're not like attached to that relationship anymore. You're not attached to the outcome of their actions towards you. You're not attached to the fact that they will love you or not, because you already know that you're enough as it is, and you don't need their validation anymore. So you can now make a choice that, first of all, is rooted in your truth, and second, it feels like you're more free to make whatever choice that you prefer. And many times reality will just take away a person from your life because you've realized something and you're not willing to act in a certain way anymore, and they will just disappear by themselves and you will be free at that point. But of course, if you want to keep working on the situation even after you've realized your fears and you've seen that they're not true, the situation can continue if the other person is willing to see your new you, basically. your new way of acting now that you don't have that fear anymore. If that person matches those actions and understands those actions and accepts them, you can just continue your relationship. So it's not a given that you have to change your circumstances. You will just have changed your feelings about the circumstance. And so whether you leave or not is not important anymore because you don't feel that negative reaction to it anymore. It doesn't matter what the action in the end will be. What just matters is the internal process and how you relate to your emotions and how you figure out what they mean. This is basically the key to work with your emotion and understand them as a guidance system. They are actually accurate. They are actually pointing you to something true, but we're just not taught how to read them. We're just not taught how to decode them. And so we're confused for a long time. And I just wanted to share this with you because this is life-changing. This is something that will change your life and will make your life, even in the most difficult situations, much more enjoyable, much more meaningful, because you know that there's nothing to actually fear. It's just a process of discovery of yourself and what you fear and what you believe, and finding out, okay, I have this thing inside of me that makes me feel weird and makes me feel negative and makes me feel bad. Do I think this is true? Not really. So I can just let it go. And basically, it's a process of liberation and freeing yourself from all this conditioning. In this process, you also develop so much trust in yourself and in this life. You don't feel like life is attacking you anymore. You don't feel like life is so hard and is against you all the time. This process will always be positive because I will always go through my emotions and figure out that I want to let this go. I want to let this other thing go. At the end of the process, what will remain is you and just who you are. And so that's how you will create the life that makes you truly happy, because you won't have all of these situations that are trying to expose your fears. More and more positive situations will show up because you don't have those fears anymore. You will resonate to more positive situations because you have finally accepted that your core is positive, and so you kind of deserve these positive situations in a way. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. What I'm talking about will always be related to creativity as well, because creativity and art making are the ultimate freedom, are the ultimate free act, because it's considered so wrong and so useless by society. And so when you're able to create and make art, that's how you see that you're truly becoming free. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!